What is going on, guys? Noah Brewer here, back again with another video, and today we are going to be talking about the product testing feedback loop that I mentioned in my most recent product research video. We're going to be going over the benefits, a couple of the different steps. I just want to go really in depth to make sure that you fully understand this concept so that you can use it to be able to find really solid winning products that, not only have like a really decent success rate, but also scale pretty high. Now, essentially what this concept is it's the ability to, at the end of the day, recognize patterns and learn from your own experiences. Now, finding products, testing products, getting good at finding winning products in the first place is really, really difficult to do. And there's a lot of people out there that they'll swear on God that they can show you how to do it. And I just have to tell you right now that it doesn't really work like that. They can show you how to do it, but you're not really going to start absorbing the information and start learning for yourself until you do the things yourself, and really see on your own how it's going to work out. So the best way that I can teach, product testing and product research is by showing you what the feedback loop is. But yeah, this is going to allow you to come into product testing and product research with the mindset of like, okay, the only way to get truly really good is to actually take action and learn from the mistakes, learn from the success that you currently have. And you have to go out there and test, and you actually have to go through this feedback process in order to get good at finding winning products. So a couple benefits of the feedback loop, because I don't want you coming into this completely confused as to what's going to happen here. Number one is it's going to massively, dramatically improve your product research skills. Now, a lot of people come into e-commerce and they just kind of choose products that they think are good and test them, and if they don't work, whatever. If they do work, then they just get happy. It's kind of like a luck thing. When you use the feedback loop, you're no longer going to be choosing random products to test that you think are good. This is essentially allows you to be really analytical, and it also guarantees that even if you lose money on a product test, you're still getting something out of it, simply because you're getting an education out of it, you're getting an experience out of it. And as long as you're able to utilize that, which in this video I will show you how to utilize your failures to literally be able to make more money. And that just adds a little bit of confidence, and it's kind of cool to know that while you're testing products, even though you may not be successful, you're actually using that data and that knowledge to get better, so that hopefully one day you can be. Another hidden benefit of using this feedback loop and having it in your mind is it kind of forces you to be consistent. I know it's very easy when you're testing products to just kind of test one, and if it doesn't work, you get a little demotivated and you might sit back for a few days. If you're using the feedback loop and you're keeping the graphs that I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you some templates that you can copy. If you're using these graphs, it's going to really motivate you to really stay consistent. I think that's an important part of the feedback loop and actually getting good at product research, product testing, is actually just staying consistent. And I think the charts that I'll give you towards the end of this video are actually going to help a lot with that, and just this whole concept as a whole. So let's take a look at an overview of the feedback loop itself. So you can see step number one is finding the product. So this is your product research stage. Step number two is testing the product. This is where you launch your campaign, you give it a couple days and see how it does, and then analyzing the results is essentially seeing how it does. So you can kind of see what happens, and I'll talk a little bit more about these in depth. And then the last part, and I think the most important part to this, is pattern recognition. And I'm going to give you the charts and the templates that you can use. These are out of my personal collection for my personal stores that I'm going to be giving you, so that you can essentially use this feedback loop in the same exact way that I do for my stuff. And hopefully it'll have the same benefit. I do want to say that in this video, we're not going to be going over, how to find products, how to test products. I'm strictly going to be talking about the feedback loop as a whole. So if you want to watch videos about how to find products and how to test them, I do have videos on my channel. You can just click on my channel button and go scroll down and try to find them. I pretty much go over my entire methods on here numerous times. I try to share all the information that I can, and I try to keep everything as up to date as possible so that you guys can always stay in the loop. But like I said, because finding products and testing products is like a whole other video, in this video we're just going to be going over analyzing results and pattern recognition. So analyzing the data, super simple. I don't really need to go that in depth on this. I'm going to keep it quick, but just determining whether or not the product is a winner or a loser. So what are the next steps? Are you going to turn it off? Are you going to give it a couple more days? You got to be able to determine this, obviously. But one thing that I want to add to this that is actually going to help you with the next step, the pattern recognition step, is actually reading over all of the data and looking at, which countries your ads spent in. Were there a lot of add to carts and no purchases? Were there purchases with no add to carts? Was there a lot of reach for some weird reason? Was there, a lot of clicks for some weird reason? These are kind of like indicators that you need to become familiar with inside of your ad account so that if anything happens that's out of the ordinary for a test, you're able to spot that and you're able to identify what went wrong very, very quickly. Now, this is going to help you a lot with pattern recognition because you're going to be able to see what goes wrong and what goes right. And then when something goes wrong, you're going to be able to fix it fairly quickly. So that's the analyzing step. Like I said, I was going to keep it quick. Essentially, all you want to do is just make sure that you're reading over the data. Take the extra few minutes just to fully understand how your test went and potentially why it went that way. All right, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this entire video, pattern recognition overview. Essentially, pattern recognition is the most important part of, getting good at product research, testing, scaling. It's really the whole business model, and I think it's the whole thing for most businesses is kind of like, putting stuff out there, seeing what happens and then doing it multiple times, and you're able to kind of connect the dots, like what's working, what's not working. That's essentially what this is, and it's not only applicable to e-commerce, but obviously in this video I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can use it for e-commerce, and I'm also going to be giving you the templates on how you can use it. But there's really two areas where you should pay attention to this. Now, one obviously is product selection or product research, but really, selection at the end of the day, like actually selecting which products you want to test, and ad strategy. Now, if you are following my methods, you don't really need to know the pattern recognition for ad strategy because obviously, if you trust me and my methods, you know that what I talk about already works. And quite honestly, the reason that it works is because I've already been through this. So even if you did this on your own, you would likely find the same thing that I have. So if you're following my methods, you don't really have to listen to the pattern recognition part of the ad strategy because I'm already giving you an ad strategy that's already proven, and I've already taken it through this pattern recognition system that I'm going to show you to actually know that it works. But you should really be paying attention to the product selection because that is something that I cannot give to you. That is not a strategy that I can just hand to you. Product selection, I can give you the criteria, I can show you where to find products, but having that muscle, having the ability to actually choose out products that end up being winners is a skill. It's not something that you can read about in a textbook. It's not something that you can learn from in a course. It's something that, like I said, you have to go through, find the products off of your own judgment, test them and see how your judgment is and try to improve your judgment over time. So product selection, pattern recognition. I do want to say that before you try to implement any sort of pattern recognition, try to test like at least 10 products before, looking back and trying to use the feedback loop to determine what's going on. So I would say like every 10 products you test, you should look back at those 10 and try to look for patterns as a minimum. So with this, mindset, then you should be going out there testing 10 products, and then kind of like every 10 products that you test, you should be getting better and better and better each time. So there is a guide that goes along with this that's going to allow you to write down your results so that you can actually keep track of each test and what happens during each test. And having it in a Google Sheet also kind of like puts it all together in one place so you don't have to think that much. You can just look at the data, and there's no denying data. We all know that. But one thing that really helps with improving your actual judgment on whether a product is a winner or not is taking a mental note of how you feel about the product before you actually test it. Like, you can kind of make a rating like 1 to 10. On what scale of 1 to 10 do you think that this product is going to end up working? And you can write that down before you test it, and then you can kind of look back on the last 10 products that you tested and see how good was your judgment. I know you'll see a lot of funny things like the products that you thought would suck the most end up actually being the ones that do the best. So another thing to mention with product selection is paying attention to your pricing. What niches were you in? What type of product was it? Every single factor of the test, which is going to be in relation to the product. So I have some examples here in which I'll answer for you, just in case you run through these scenarios. You can come back and watch this video. But if 3 out of 10 products made a sale, what did those 3 have that the other 7 didn't? That's the question that you need to be asking yourself. And it can be a lot of things, right? Like it can be the pricing, it can be the type of product, it can be the niche. It could be a mixture of all 3 of those things. Like who knows? You have to be asking yourself these kinds of questions. Like once you get your 10, products tested, these are the kinds of things that you have to ask yourself. Like I said, maybe the ones that you thought sucked were the ones that made a sale. Maybe the ones that made a sale were the ones that you thought you would. Maybe your intuition is already like pretty solid, and maybe you should listen to your intuition a little bit more rather than, move away from it. But I have a feeling most people are going to have to move away from it just from what I've seen in this industry, to be honest. Another thing, like pricing, like maybe all the products you sold for $50 made a sale. In that situation, then that you should probably test more products around the $50 price point. That's what worked for you. So you have to be able to look at, what's going on inside of your testing and kind of like try to optimize it, right? Like try to get better each time. Like another perfect example would be if 3 out of the 10 products were in the kitchen niche. So like I said, this is called refinement. This is like, using the data that you receive from the marketplace to get better and build your own skill, build up your product research muscle. Now, I want to hop into this tool that I'm going to give you. The link will be in the description. But this is exactly what I do for my own stores in terms of keeping track of your products and how they're doing. Like I said, every 10 products that you test, you just essentially, write down the product name, put the alley link so that you're able to go back and see what the product looks like. What was the cost? What did you sell it for? You can take your note. This is like where I was talking about, where you write down how you feel about the product before you actually test the product. And then you write down the results. And I think this is super important because you're able to see all 10 of your tests in one spot, like I said earlier, and you can very easily recognize patterns. Like you can pick out the products that did good, drag them to the top, and try to look for, comparisons like right on one page, and you don't have to think about it. So that's why I want to give you this template. You're not going to be able to use it for yourself. You're going to have to copy and paste it into your own Google Sheets. But I hope that you guys can use this and actually, go implement what I'm showing in this video because it is really, really valuable and it will definitely set you apart. It'll allow you to get really good at finding products a lot quicker. So earlier I said that if you're following my ad strategy that you don't really have to listen to this, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't following my methods, and you might be bouncing around and testing other people's methods. You might be testing another guy's method and my method, and that's perfectly fine. But this is how you do pattern recognition with an ad strategy. I'm also going to give you a template that is going to allow you to heavily split test different ad strategies and figure out which one is the best and has the highest success rate. Believe it or not, this is actually how I built my current strategy from scratch. I'll kind of walk you through it earlier. You'll see how powerful it is. But this is, essentially the same exact thing as pattern recognition with product selection, except it's with ad strategy, right? Instead of testing products, we're testing methods. One thing I want to say is you can do this with either testing methods or scaling methods. I most commonly use it with scaling methods because I think my testing method is really, really dialed in to have the highest success rate for my situation. So mostly what I use the feedback loop for is scaling nowadays, where I'm testing out new scaling methods and trying to keep up with the times and testing out different methods to constantly try to get better and comparing each method to each other and make sure that I'm always optimized for the best results. So a couple examples of how you would use the pattern recognition mindset to your ability with this would be, if 3 out of 10 tests that made sales were you testing with $5 budgets as opposed to $10 budgets. Now this is something that actually happened to me. Like if you know my strategy, then you know that I like to test with $5 budgets, and that's not by accident. That's not, I didn't just pull $5 budgets out of my ass. I very heavily split tested, $3 budgets, $5 budgets, 10. I even tested $7 budgets. For some reason, I just wanted to see, what would happen. I tested $20 budgets, which by the way, 5 and 20 are the total sweet points for Facebook ads. I know a lot of people would probably disagree with that, but I've ran intensive testing on this, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, once you see the chart, you'll know that you can trust my word on this, that $5 and $20 budgets have the highest success rates when product testing. So this is something that I actually went through and proved for myself, and that's how I was able to develop and optimize my own strategies. If 3 out of 10 tests that made a sale were using auto placements as opposed to manual placements. Now, if you know me, I am the kind of guy that has always done manual placements, just Facebook feed and Instagram feed, and just recently I have been trying to do automatic placements a lot more. And the reason is because I went through, our scaling strategy and we split tested it, and it turned out it didn't make that much of a difference. Not a lot to make it like a big deal, but we did notice a difference, in auto placement's favor, believe it or not. So these are like real tests that I've actually been through that have happened. This was actually pretty recently too. And now we're kind of flip-flopping right now. Like, we're not fully committed to either manual or auto. We're kind of like in between. I'm sure one day we'll stick to one of them. But like I said, the difference wasn't that big. Another perfect example, if the tests that you did that made sales or were profitable were targeting worldwide as opposed to US only, just another easy example. Now, I really want to show you this template because if you are testing methods and you are trying to, compare one guy's method to another guy's method, this is like the perfect remedy to solve your problem because this is going to allow you to put everything in one place and analyze the results in one place so that you can choose which method has the higher success rate and stick with that method. So this is what we have. I know it's kind of confusing when you're first looking at it. Now, I have filled this out with some, data just to show you an example of kind of like how I would fill it out personally. But essentially right here on the top, you have your base strategy, and this is kind of like your baseline. If you have a main mentor that you like to listen to, or if you bought a course, you would essentially just use the strategy exactly how they teach it. Or for us, we already know what works. So our base when we're testing is what we already know works. And then, this section right here are your 10 different tests. Now, I say 10 different tests. It doesn't mean that you have to test 10 different methods. But you can really test as many different methods as you want. You can see here we have 5. We have 5 different strategies that we're going to be able to split test essentially with different products, different stores, whatever we wanted to do to make sure that we're optimizing for the best method. Now, this section right here is essentially counting down each test that you're doing. So you're going to want to do 10 tests per strategy, and I wouldn't recommend doing less than 10. Somebody like me, I'm able to do this because of my agency. Like I said, we have a lot of clients and we work on a lot of stores, and we have been working on a lot of stores for years. So for me to be able to fill out this chart, I'm able to do it a lot quicker than somebody like you would be. But just because you're moving slow doesn't mean that it's not worth it to do it. And again, this is kind of why I try to give my methods out, because people don't realize the amount of testing that I have done is insane, and the amount of optimizing that I've done for my actual strategy is insane. And we actually implement those methods with my agency clients. So they're kind of like always on the front line of getting the best method possible. So, I hope that you understand this chart. We have our base strategy. We have our 10 different tests, or however many strategies that you want to test. And then, here we have a slot for the results of each test. Right? So we can put the results, write them down right here. And then on the bottom here, this is where the magic happens. This is where you determine which strategy is actually good and which is not so good. You can look at, I like to base my success rates during testing as 5+ orders. And during testing, I would say is in the first few days. As you know, I only let products run for 2 days. So if it doesn't have at least 5 sales, in 2 days, or become a winner and we scale it, then I wouldn't consider it a success per se. But you can make it whatever you want. Just know that the more orders that you put this number as, the more products you're actually going to have to test to get accurate data. With these numbers, you can kind of say okay, how many? I have base strategy number 1 here. How many product tests actually resulted in 5 or more sales? You can see we got 1, 3, 0, 14, so that's 1, and then 7, that's 2, and then we got 3. So we got 3 out of 10 on this base test here, and then on the number 2 test, which you can see right here is the same thing as base, so it's still worldwide, still manual placement, still $5 budgets. It still has 1 ad, except for instead of 7 ad sets, we did 5. right? So I essentially just made a variation of the base strategy. And you can see that in this hypothetical example, we gave this a 2 out of 10. So once you have all these figured out, it becomes very, very easy just to look at these bottom numbers and determine, okay, the base method is the best. We probably shouldn't deviate from it because the success rate is highest with our original method, or, maybe targeting US only just really, really hits for you for some reason. And, now you've discovered this new method that works a lot better than your original. So like I said, the links to these templates are going to be in the description. Just copy it and paste it into your own Google Sheets, and you'll be able to use them. Now, if you don't want to go through all this bullshit that I talked about in this video with the product testing feedback loop, you can work with me and my team, and we will give you products that I personally choose out. I've been through the feedback loop 1,000 times. My success rate with choosing products is pretty damn good. And in terms of ad strategy, we will also manage the ads for you. So we give you the products, manage the ads. And of course, like I just said, I've ran through thousands of tests with different ad strategies, so you can be confident that we are going to be using the strategy that has the highest chance of success for your store. And not only that, we're going to be giving you products, and once we find a winning product for you, we're going to help you scale as well. And like I said, I've scaled a ton of stores, so we know exactly what we're doing. We've ran through tons and tons of different methods in terms of scaling. So if you want to be a part of that, click the link down below. There'll be a link to schedule a call with one of my team members where you can learn more. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope it was insanely valuable for you. If it was, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you thought. If you have any feedback that you want to leave that you think would be valuable for me or the audience, then please leave it in the comments below. Leave a subscribe if you want more videos like this. And that's it for this video, guys. This is Noah Brewer, and I'm out. Peace.